No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of WWE NXT. First episode of NXT on the CW network. I recently switched to Sling TV, and Sling TV does not carry the CW, but I was able to get a free trial of Fubo, which is another streaming service that has various channels. I signed up for the trial so I could watch this week's episode of NXT. NXT was in Chicago, Allstate Arena. We kicked off the show with a new logo. Logo is fine. We had a new intro song. Lil Wayne is in it. Not my cup of tea. It's for the younger audience. It is what it is. We had Shawn Michaels in the ring to introduce the show. Crowd was singing Sexy Boy. And he introduced new NXT championships. I do like the new titles. They're fine. We then had Triple H come in the ring and ask everybody if they were ready. Michaels and Triple H to hype up the fans. And that led into our first match of the evening, which was Giulia versus Roxanne Perez. Roxanne defending her championship. Giulia, of course, an international wrestling star in her first big NXT match on this show. It was very evenly matched. They were trading near falls right off the bat. They were trading submissions back and forth between these two. Eventually, Roxanne was able to hit the pop rocks. Giulia rolled out of the ring. Crowd was chanting NXT. And then Giulia gave Roxanne a Northern Lights bomb on the floor. They both managed to get back in the ring at the count of 9. And then Roxanne went back outside, grabbed her championship, brought it in the ring. And at this point, a mystery woman attacked Giulia on the outside of the ring. Giulia was thrown back in, and Roxanne was able to pick up the win with the pop rocks. Giulia loses her first big match with the outside interference, and the mystery woman turned out to be Cora Jade. She is back. I thought it was a good match. I have never seen Giulia wrestle before. She definitely has some charisma. It was a good match. Giulia did lose, but they had the outside interference. I figured Giulia would just win the title, but by doing this, they can keep the feud going for a little bit longer. I still think that Giulia will get the title at some point, maybe a couple months down the line. It was very solid for this show in the opening match position. They did well. We had Axiom and Nathan Fraser, the NXT Tag Team Champions, play in WWE 2K24 to prepare themselves for Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. There's going to be a tag match with them. We also had CM Punk backstage with The Rock's daughter and Lexis King, formerly Brian Pillman Jr. He approached CM Punk. He said he's not trying to be like his dad. He's trying to be a better man. And then he asked CM Punk for advice. Now, Punk said that there are two wolves, and Lexis King needs to figure out which one he is going to be. Is he going to win at all costs, or is he going to fight against his genes? Lexis thanked him, and we'll have to see where things go with Lexis from here. His hair is absolutely ridiculous, by the way. Just saying, in his facial hair and everything. We had a video package for Wes Lee and Pete Wentz. They had their hardcore match. Lee brought out some weapons, and this was very personal between the former MSK tag team, and then before that, the Rascals in TNA Wrestling. It was your standard hardcore match with a lot of high-flying action in between. We had kendo sticks. We had steel chairs being used. The crowd was chanting TNA at one point. They crashed through a board that was laid out on 4 chairs outside of the ring. They went off the apron, crashed through this board, and Booker T, I think, screwed up and referred to Wes Lee as Trey Miguel, who's the 3rd member of the Rascals. Booker T is not good on commentary. I've said this before in other recaps of NXT. Booker T's only contribution to me is for Trick Williams. Beyond that, I think he actually takes away from the show. Just my opinion. Anyways, after the commercial break, we got this coast to coast from Wentz. The crowd chanted holy shit for that, which was getting censored on the CW. Wentz kept his momentum going. He placed a trash can. He placed Lee's head in the trash can, came off the top with a senton. However, Lee was able to kick out of that, and then Wentz went up on the top rope, was going to do like a springboard cutter, but he got pushed off the top rope, and he meant to crash through a table, but actually just overshot it and hit the side with his back. And there was a comment here in the chat room from Jerry. Very much, I thought the same exact thing, Jerry, from the 1998 Royal Rumble when Shawn Michaels went over the top rope and overshot the casket and hurt his back really bad. That was brutal, and so was this. Wentz overshooting, not going through the table, just hitting the edge of it. But the match did continue, and a steel chain got introduced into the match. And then Wes Lee, I guess a heel tactic, even though this was a street fight, he hit a low blow, and then he wrapped the chain around his knees and came off with a Meteora off the second rope and got the 1-2-3 victory over Wentz, which doesn't surprise me because Lee is the full-time NXT guy. Wentz got fired a couple years ago and has been in TNA as of late. So I'm not really surprised that Wes Lee picked up the win. It was a good match, but not a classic by any means. A fairly standard hardcore match with a few crazy moments. It was good. We had Jaida Parker and Lola Vice backstage, and Jaida Parker told Lola to stay in her lane, and the women's North American champion, Kalani Jordan, came in and said that they need each other, they need to work together. And then Kalani revealed that she does have a backup plan if things don't go right in the tag match. We had MizTV. The Miz turned heel on Raw, turned against R-Truth, so he was getting booed heavily, and he brought out the North American champion for the men, Oba Femi and Tony D. I love Oba Femi's strut. He's got a lot of personality, and I've said this before. I think he has maybe the biggest upside of anybody in NXT right now. Tony D, not so much. You know, he's doing the big Vito gimmick. He comes out there, and the crowd's doing the what chants at him. He said he's going to dethrone Oba Femi, and Oba Femi said that Tony doesn't believe a word he's saying. And instead of doing the what chants, the crowd was barking every time Oba Femi said something. And Femi said Tony's family cannot fight for him. And next week it's one-on-one. Tony can't beat him. and then they got a little bit of a heated face-to-face confrontation. It was fine. I thought Femi was okay on the mic. I wouldn't go as far to say he was good, Michael, but he was all right. He still has a lot of personality, and that's really what's carrying him at this point. He just has that intensity that like a Brock Lesnar or a Bill Goldberg has, and that can take him very far. He doesn't need to be good on the mic. I mean, that would just be the icing on the cake, and of course, he's got time to get better on that too. Segment was fine, nothing special, just your standard back and forth promo segment to build up their match, which takes place next week in St. Louis. Backstage, Jade talked to Roxanne Perez and said she likes the woman Roxanne has become. And then Roxanne said maybe a common enemy can bring them back together. They're both heels now, and we'll see what happens with that. We had a women's tag team match, Jaida and Lola Vice versus Fatal Attraction, or Fatal Influence. Not Toxic Attraction, but Fatal Influence. And the team consisted of Jacy, Jayne, and Fallon Henley. And you had Jazmyn Nix, I guess that's her name. Not even sure how to spell it. She was out there. She's the third member of the team. She was out there, and Kalani Jordan was on commentary. And basically the storyline in this was that Jaida and Lola were not exactly getting along. They were having miscommunication. And then Jaida got distracted by Jazmyn Nix on the outside of the ring. And then Fallon sent Lola into Jaida. Jaida got knocked off the apron, and that was the final straw for her. She walked out on her partner. Lola tried to fight 1-on-2, but could not get the job done. Lola got pinned. Fatal Influence picked up the win. And then after the match, Kalani Jordan got in the ring and told Fatal Influence she wasn't alone. And sure enough, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, came out there, beat down the Fatal Influence. And then it was announced that next week there will be a 6-woman tag team match. Fatal Influence versus Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and the North American Women's Champion. So that's coming up on next week's show. I didn't really care about the match personally. I don't know enough about the characters, nor was I really invested in it. Shout out to Caleb Jacobs, who sent in a $2.02 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. Says, good show. Punk did not put up with Paige at all. Well, we'll get to that in just a few moments. CM Punk definitely was the law and order in the main event. We'll get to the main event here very shortly. We had a video package for Randy Orton versus Javon Evans. That takes place on next week. Spoiler alert, Randy Orton's going to win. He's not losing in St. Louis to Javon Evans. I mean, I would be shocked beyond shocked. That would be like 1, 2, 3 Kid pinning Razor Ramon, even more so, because Randy Orton is Randy Orton and it's in St. Louis. Main event, CM Punk, special guest referee in Chicago for Ethan Page versus Trick Williams. And CM Punk was calling the match right down the middle. Before the match, we had a video package, by the way. Punk was making his authority clear, but Page was not liking CM Punk's counting. And he tried to put his feet on the rope. Punk would not count. And then Page took Williams to the outside, threw him into the barricade. And then after the break, Ethan Page with the ego's edge, putting Williams through the announce table. And Punk did not count them out. Punk wanted there to be a decisive winner. So maybe you could argue, at least if you're Ethan Page, that Punk was not doing his job as a referee by counting out Trick Williams. Punk wanted a winner in the ring, so he let it slide. Williams got back in the ring, and both of them ended up down, and CM Punk helped both of them up. He actually picked up both guys and helped them up, hoisted them back up because he wanted to make sure there was a winner. They traded near falls, and Paige went for a cover, and Williams kicked out. Punk was, again, yelled at by Paige. Paige was accusing him of not counting at a correct speed. And then Paige decided to stick it to CM Punk. He hit a GTS to Trick Williams. However, Williams kicked out. And then Williams was able to avoid the ego's edge. And then he hit the trick shot knee, got the 1-2-3 victory to regain the NXT title. We had confetti, a celebration. Punk laid out Ethan Page with a GTS for good measure. And the show abruptly went off the air right at 11 o'clock. So no more overruns with the move to CW. They could have used it here. Like, to me, the one negative, and got the comment right here in the chat room, they rushed the celebration. Williams was celebrating, confetti goes off, GTS to Page, and the show goes off the air. Like 30 seconds tops for the celebration. It was very short. So yeah, to me, that was the one negative. You have a world title or NXT title change, and we barely have time to digest it. Like, we need like a good 2 or 3 minutes to really enjoy the moment. So I wasn't really a fan of that. Match was solid. You know, it was mostly about the CM Punk storyline, being the guest referee. Show was solid. I was a little disappointed because I think that, yes, it was maybe a slight step above your standard NXT show. And there was a comment in here I agree with in the chat room that it was a hit, but I don't think it was a home run. I really have no desire to watch next week's show, even though Randy Orton will be on and they're doing this intimate venue in St. Louis because they couldn't sell enough tickets to the main arena. NXT, it's nice to check out every now and then to see who some of the up-and-comers are, maybe get a glimpse into the future of WWE. And to me, that was always the biggest appeal of NXT, was to see who the future stars were going to be. And actually, back in the day, NXT was a nice alternative to the main roster. Sometimes the main roster wasn't putting out a great product, mostly due to the writing and the creative. So you had NXT as an alternative. But then AEW came along, and then the main roster got better. So NXT is really just your third brand of WWE with developmental talent. It's a solid show, but to me, it's not must watch. Like, you could have skipped this NXT, and even with a world title change, like, it didn't feel anything special. Like, for some of the classic NXT shows and takeovers, like, you would have this epic world title match and you'd have the big title change. But here it was just a good match. CM Punk is the referee, Chicago, so you had that going for it. I probably go with a B for the show. It was good. It was good, but not enough for me to watch next week. I'm not a fan of the entrance music for most of the NXT wrestlers. They had a video package. There's another well-known independent women's wrestler. I guess she's from Australia. Her name is Delta. They had a video package for her. She's coming in, I believe, Halloween Havoc. They had the road signs, 10/27, I guess, for Halloween Havoc. No big surprises other than maybe Cora Jade showing up. I guess Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, but I mean, they're the women's tag team champions. I believe they can show up on all the shows, right? I don't know. But yeah, it was good. Not enough for me to keep following it. It's more or less the same NXT, new logo. And in a couple weeks, they're going to be back at the Performance Center. Apparently, they're doing some renovations on the Performance Center, so that'll at least have a little bit of a different look. I'll probably tune in. But yeah, show was not what I was hoping it would be. I was hoping they were going to just have an all-time great NXT show, and I would be like, holy crap, I need to be watching this every week. But I really don't. With Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, that's enough for me. I mean, this is really only for your most diehard of diehard fans. That's my recap of NXT. Next Tuesday night, I'll be recapping Dynamite because Dynamite is going to be on Tuesday. They're doing the Title Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. And of course, I will be on Wednesday night for the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite. Check that out. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I appreciate your viewership and support. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news and rumors. Buy a shirt, NoDQ.com/merch, and I will see you all next time.